Alright, so here we've got the Bluedog BWS 63-ton Alligator Shear. Just going to go over some of the specs and features of it. One of the great things is that you've actually got a small grip arm right here, which will come down before the main cutting arm, which is right here. So basically there's two processes when it's cutting the material. There's a guard right here. You're going to want to make sure that you use the appropriate safety guards, as well as wear the appropriate safety equipment when you're operating a machine like this. One of the things I'll point out on the top here is these oil drips will have to be installed when you get the machine. They are not shipped with those things installed, and you'll have to put oil in there for it to drip out. Also, there are some grease nipples right here. You'll see some grease nipples around the machine. Make sure that you're always lubricating and greasing the machine frequently. It's very, very important to make sure that everything operates the correct way. So that's the shear portion of the Alligator Shear, and then over here is a hydraulic pack. So in front here we have the electrical cabinet. Right here, these are the controls, basically that engage the small arm as well as the large shear. You have the motor over here. This is a pressure meter right here. Even though it's a 63-ton unit, the pressure shouldn't really go past 20 when you're cutting. This is adjusting the hydraulic pressure in the system. It comes preset. Don't touch that. Always leave that in place. You look over here, this is where you put the hydraulic fluid. If you're just running this in normal conditions, number 32 hydraulic oil will work fine. If you're getting into colder conditions, you might need to have a higher grade of material. If you look down here, this is actually a temperature gauge which will measure the temperature of the oil. The more you use the machine, the more the oil is going to heat up. This temperature gauge also operates as basically a level indicator. So when you're filling up the tank right here, you want to make sure that the level is showing on the indicator. Literally, you want to be halfway to run it properly. You don't want to run the machine with just a little bit. It has to show on this meter here. You can't have it empty or just a little in order to cycle through. So once again, very important that the meter is filled right there. So as you go around here, there's all sorts of lube points on the machine. You're going to want to always put drip oil in this on a regular basis. I'd say once a day, depending on your shift. You're going to have points right here. Also, this is another point right here that you want to grease regularly. Also in here, you can't see it, but there's another grease point down here, which is the main shaft that everything tilts back and forth on. So it's very important to lube the Alligator Shear on a regular basis. Make sure it's well maintained. And let me just run through this and show you how it actually operates. So right now I'm going to go through some basic features of the Bluedog 63-ton Alligator Shear on the control panel. So if we look here on the control panel, the indicator light is on, which means there's power to the machine. You have an emergency stop switch, you have pump start, pump stop, shear, retract, and this button over here cycles between auto mode and manual mode. So we'll show you how this works. So since the power indicator's light's on, we can engage. So now the pump is on, the oil's pumping through the system, and now we can show you how it works. So if you want to just use the control panel, you hit the shear button, goes down, comes back up. So this is in manual mode. Switch it into auto mode, it'll just continuously do that. And if you want to stop it, just put it back into manual mode and it will stop. So once again, shear, we'll just do it one time by hand. You also have the option of using a foot pedal right here. So if you hit the foot pedal, and right now I'm holding the foot pedal, so when I'm holding it, it's telling the machine it's in full auto mode. I get off the foot pedal, basically the machine stops. So once again, hit the button, foot pedal, machine cycling. Alright. Pump stop. When you're setting up the Alligator Shear, it's very important to take notes of where everything goes. So if you look on this main cylinder right here, we've got the letter A. On the hose it says A. On here it says B. On the hose it says B. And if you follow that down through the system, you will see A and B that are lined up on the main flow meter right here. So there's basically D and D, C and C, and if you go over here on the main cylinder, you're going to see C as well as D. So it's very important that those are lined up right. If you don't line them up right, the machine will not cycle properly. Another one which is really important is over here. You've got a B1 and a B2. The sensors right here, you got B2, B1. They are labeled on here. Make sure that those line up properly. Also, when you see the sensors, this should be touching the side of the shear itself, because this is what's triggering the upward and downward motion. If these are pressed too hard on the side of the shear, it's not going to cycle right. So just make sure that they're just sort of floating nicely like this. So this bar is going to be triggering the upward and downward motion of the actual shear. Another thing which is very important to note are the sensors right here. So when the limit switches are triggered over there, they will send a signal through this basically oil flow distributor, and you have to make sure that sensor A is lined up with A, sensor B is lined up with B. Next, we're going to show how everything looks inside the control panel. Make sure that before you open the electrical control panel that the power is turned off. You don't want to be in there with the power turned on. So I've just turned the power off. I'm opening up the cabinet, and this is what it looks like. So over here you have the main power coming in, and it hooks up to the LB bar down here. So you have red, black, and white. It's a three-phase unit. On the side over here you have where your ground goes. Very important to have the ground lug in place. Next, from the power in, it goes to the motor. So these are the three legs that will then continue onto the motor. It's very important to note that the motor must go in clockwise direction when operating this machine. If it's not in clockwise, the hydraulic fluid will not flow the right way and the machine will not work. So you can see the direction on the motor there indicating which way is clockwise. Another point is that if you do hook this up and the motor is not going clockwise, you can reverse the phase of the motor, the direction, by varying the wires. So take the two red and black, put that on the second and third terminal and move the white to the first, and that should basically give you the correct direction for your motor rotation. As we continue on down here, you'll see another LB bar that's labeled from 0 all the way up to 12. So the red wires right here are going to the control panel over there. So that controls all your pump start, pump stop, emergency stop, your shear, retract, power indicator light, and continuous. Here you're going to see these wires doubled up. That's actually for the foot switch. So that engages the foot switch right there. Instead of operating from the control panel, you can operate it from the foot switch. And then if you go on the end here, you have 10, 11, and 12. those are going to be your sensors right up here. So you can see A to A and B to B. Those sensors must be exactly in place like that because they trigger the hydraulic pressure release going through the system. And that's inside the control box right here. As I said, do not work inside the control box unless you've turned the main power off. This is a heavy duty unit, it's 483 phase. So always be careful of that. And that is how it works or looks inside the BWS 63-ton Alligator Shear control box. So for the final portion of this video, I'm going to give a demonstration how the Bluedog 63-ton Alligator Shear actually works. You're going to see a practical demonstration. In my hand here, I have some, I believe it's 10 gauge galvanized angle. Obviously this is a little bit thin for what this machine can process because it can go up to 1x5 plate. But just for demonstration purposes, I'll show you how this machine actually processes. So basically make sure the control panel is on. You can see there's light on the power indicator button, so that means that there is power. Pump start. Press that button right there. And I'm going to be using the foot pedal for this demonstration because I need my hand free. So here's the foot pedal. Make sure you're wearing the appropriate safety equipment when you're operating this machine. You're going to need basically eyes, feet, gloves, ears, everything. Make sure you're absolutely safe. And you're going to also want to make sure that you have the proper guarding on your machine, which complies to the safety standards in your state or province. And that will have to be set up according to how you want it set up. So anyway, let's check this out. So here's the material. There's the foot switch. So first I'm going to put it in, press the foot switch down, the front grip arm grabs it, shears. Slide it forward, press the foot switch, put it in again. Let me grab that. So here, press the foot switch, front grab arm, shears. And this will be the last one. Check this out. So that was a practical demonstration of the Bluedog 63-ton Alligator Shear. You can see how easily that went through 10 gauge material. It's definitely a beast if you have to shear material for your operation. I thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please give us a call, 866-901-2278. Check our website out, copper-wire-stripper.com or bluedogwirestripper.com. And thank you very much.